Sky waited until the light in her parents' room went out. She grabbed her katana in calm and threw open the window. No matter what Arian said, she couldn't let one more person die to these Starks. She wanted to know, more than anything, why no one was doing anything about it. There was no talk of higher amounts of patrollers or dark hunters posted anywhere inside or outside of the city. She hastily climbed out of the window, shut it behind her, and left her yard as silently as she could. She froze when her comm buzzed. Her brother must have seen her leaving. She hid against her house and looked at her comm, cupping the device in her hands to keep the light from being seen. Sky's brow furrowed. She didn't recognize the contact. She opened the message, her heart sinking when she did. "I can see you." Sky instinctively looked up and around for whoever might have sent that. She couldn't shake the dizzying thought that it might have been a dark. They released so little information on the deaths of the lights that Sky couldn't be sure if they were contacted before they died. Panic welled within her. No. This is why she was here, in the night. She was here to destroy the fear of others. Sky stood up, hand on the hilt of her katana. She walked, checking every direction she thought she could have been seen from. There wasn't one sound. It was almost eerie. And where would you be going at this time of night? Sky jumped at the voice, but she still couldn't see anyone. A figure walked from behind her house. Sky drew her sword. The figure paused. "I figured you'd be mad at me for earlier, but not murderous." "Arian." Sky sheathed her sword. "You can't just show up at night and not expect me to pull a sword on you. What are you doing out here anyway?" "Nuh-uh, I asked you first." Sky made a face, looking away wordlessly. She gripped her katana. He knew, and most likely, he'd never been angrier that she was going to do it on her own. "Are you going to stand there all night?" She glared at her friend. How could he be this way when people are dying? Innocent people. She looked away from him. "I guess I'm investigating by myself?" Sky looked up at her friend, wide-eyed. She walked to his side. "Do you have any idea where we're going?" "Nope. Figured you'd lead the way." Sky thought for a moment. She wheeled around at Arian, grabbing his arm. "Ouch, what?" She opened her mouth to speak. She thought, breathing hard. "The old well." Arian watched her. "The well?" "Yeah. Where the public executions used to be." Sky peered up at Arian expectantly. Arian stared, not making the connection. "I read once somewhere that the old king used it to travel." Arian looked up, brow furrowed. "I really don't understand. Travel where? Up and down? That's not incredibly impressive." Sky groaned at her friend and started heading to the direction of the old well. "There's tunnels under it. Back in the day, they used to lead up to the prisons under the castle, and it's how the king would get around when he was locked up." Arian followed Sky. "I don't know where you're going with this, though. Why are we going there?" "The tunnels lead out of the city, too. I think they found it going on for the next few cities." "Who was watching him? Was he locked up?" Sky rolled her eyes. "The point is, if we're the safest city, where are they going to try and come in through?" "I mean, sure, but how do we know that they're not filled with water or blocked off a long time ago?" Arian asked, taking long strides to keep up with Sky. "I just think it's interesting that the deaths all seem to be around that area." Arian was impressed with the amount of research that Sky had done, though she was number 2. He shouldn't be too impressed. "You seem to know a lot about the layout of the city. I bet you'd match evenly with the patroller," Arian said absently. Her blood ran cold. Of all the things that could have come out of his mouth, why was that the thing that did? Sky smiled back at him, her face morphing into one of terror shortly after. She pulled Arian behind a statue, pressing a finger to her lips. She peered around the statue. "Someone's over there," Sky said, barely audible. Arian leaned around the other side of the statue, squinting to see in the darkness. Arian wondered why the fear of darks over the years wouldn't maybe inspire people to put up more lights. No. There. In the distance, but very clearly, a figure moving through the night. Too small to be a patroller. He swallowed hard. A dark? He'd spent so long thinking about the day he'd finally fight one, but now, marinating in the reality of the situation, all he could do was stand, frozen in shock. As the figure drew closer, it became clearer that the small frame was that of a younger girl. Arian recognized her right away. The dead-eyed girl. There's a patroller there, Sky. Sky nodded. Sky, that's not good. Remember how there was 4 deaths and now we're outside after sunset? Sky straightened. Yeah. Arian pulled her along stealthily as he could manage. He peered around the corner to see how close the pair was. They were nowhere in sight. They must have turned somewhere. Arian pulled Sky along the sides of the buildings. Once they were pretty close to Sky's house, Arian spoke. So, they say darks have reflective eyes like a cat's, and that's why they don't come out during the day. Plus, when they harvest fragments, they have this weird black mist or smoke or something that comes out of them. We would be able to tell right away. Maybe they can shut those things off, Sky said. Arian gave her a look. Maybe you can turn off your curly hair too, he said, sarcastically. We didn't even make it to the old well, Sky pouted. Getting caught by a patroller would get you locked in a prison cell, similar to your prince character. Arian put his hands on his hips, looking down at her with raised eyebrows. He was a king, and he was real, Arian. Seriously, I'll let you read the book. I'll pass, Arian said with a smile. Just promise me you won't sneak out anymore tonight. I'll go with you again, we should let this cool off first. Sky nodded once. All right, I'll see you at school tomorrow. Good night. Arian turned and left with a wave.